Dearest people of the internet, this is Dungeon Clashes! Woo! I challenged myself to build a game in 24 hours. So, the concept itself isn't new, but it wasn't for any game jam, so this is basically just me saying, hey, can I build a game in 24 hours, and just challenging myself for the fun of it. So, we're going to just go over what I built today, and we'll just see where we go from there, and there we go. So, this is a video about that. The theme is tried and tested. You jump into a dungeon, you beat up some bad guys, and you make a bit of gold on the side. I think I personally chose these specific assets because they're relatively new to me. I haven't made anything with them yet recently, so being fresh in my mind, they suited the not so complicated feel to the game. It's a very simple game, which I think is in direct comparison to something like a sci-fi game, which I believe implies complexity. You've got all those screens, all those things. It's just, when you have medieval stuff, it's kind of, you know, it's in the past, it's that sort of kind of not complex at all. So that's what I was going with. So yay for psychological value. Woo! So having only 24 hours, I wasn't about to redesign the wheel. I didn't have time to intricately weave some fantastic narrative with multiple endings or think of the next big hit. I just had to build something with the tools that I had. So none of this dreaming of what could be, but simply just getting on with it and seeing what I could make. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a bit of an asset store evangelist. I think these tools truly do aid smaller developers and should definitely be used where possible, if you don't have the ability to do things yourself, which, let's face it, is quite often as a small indie developer. Not that I'm small, but anyway. We just don't have the backing, be that staff, finance, and R&D budget, to create a bespoke solution for everything. So that's where these tools come in. They have been made to make your life significantly easier in achieving your tasks. So it's almost a crime not to use them, you know? Adapting assets you legally own and utilizing them for their intended purpose is exactly what they are here for. So I encourage you to use what tools you have to complete the job you have to do. So, first came the scope of the project/challenge. This isn't Tillaris. I don't have months to design and redesign and work on intricate details and plan every second. Instead, I have a very short window of time to plan and then build my plan. So, as a side note, I highly recommend trying this challenge out. You never know how far you're actually going to get and where it might take you. And in my case, I honestly didn't expect to build a game called Dungeon Clashes. Let's be honest. Now, my original concept was this adventure game where you were being chased all the time by this relentless mob. And I figured this would be super suspenseful and would kind of get the heart beating and kind of just bring on a sense of urgency and all that sort of fun stuff. So, after running some tests and getting it working, I had set up a test to kind of like spawn mobs in sort of like a wave, just for the fun of it. So just kind of had 10 orcs kind of in the area. It was just a testing area, and then this kind of grew into a wave spawner. So I ended up moving away from being chased to being chased by lots of mobs and then having to kill them. So it's kind of like an amalgamation of the ideas I was already working with. And honestly, this all took a good majority of the time, and testing out these core concepts took a lot of time too. So I wasn't trying to polish too soon. You know, I was tweaking here, I was tweaking there, and I think a lot of time goes into tweaking and testing and changing things here and there, and that's kind of really where you get the sort of the niche feel to the game. So by now, it was a sort of a round-based game with waves of enemies. Survive as long as you can was now the sort of the new aim of the game, and I was pretty happy with this. I didn't really have time to think of some great name or spend time kind of going over and saying which one do I really like. So I, truth be told, just thought of the most cliche name and think of it on the spot, and what immediately came to me was Dungeon Clashes, and I thought, that's good enough. So I jumped into Photoshop, I whipped it up really quickly, threw it on there and thought, right, okay, Dungeon Clashes, that's it. Triadian helps me with a few things towards the end, as I was completely stuck at one point. But again, there's absolutely nothing wrong with asking for help. As an indie dev, we need all the help we can get, especially to get that project completely done. So I am super thankful for all of his help and his pointers, and just like credit to him, this could not have actually been done without him in quite the same way. So thanks. After a few final changes, I finally got about 98% of the things done. Before the timer went off, my phone started beeping at me. It may not seem like a lot, but honestly, it's mine. It's a finished build. No, it's a finished project, which is fantastic. There's nothing like that feeling of just finishing it and just being like, right, this is it. This is just have to do this. And I think overall, that's what the challenge is trying to force. It's you to finish a project. It doesn't have to be the world's greatest thing, It's just finish the project. Now, don't get me wrong, there is plenty of stuff I want to add and change, but it's still finished, and that makes me feel great.